Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be doing something a little different because it doesn't have to do with a murder or a missing person, but it possibly could have. Kind of just wanted to take a little bit of a break from doing the more disturbing videos that I normally do, although this video is going to be kind of disturbing in its own way, but we will get to that. So the other day, I came across a series of videos about a show called Adults Adopting Adults. And this is an A&E TV show that was wiped off the internet after 3 episodes, and it possibly has to do because of a couple on the show that weirded a lot of people out. And the storyline had to do with a couple named Danny and Christy, and they were adopting a 20-year-old pregnant woman from Austria named Ileana. So let's talk about this TV show for a moment. And I think the best way to compare it to is like 90 Day Fiancé, where there's a bunch of couples and you're following their storylines throughout the episodes. But this show had to do with adults adopting other adults. And there was various reasons to why they wanted to adopt another adult. Everything from something as innocent as they couldn't have their own children, and so now they can't have grandchildren, so they want to adopt another adult into their life that possibly, has children or may have children, and, have something in their life like that wasn't possible for them because they couldn't have children. Now that is a very positive sounding reason. It ranges from everything as innocent as that to maybe the more less innocent of possibly trying to lure young women from different countries on planes to a new country so that they can be kept, in a secluded spot where no one knows them and they have nowhere to go and they have to rely on this person for all their needs. See where I'm getting with that? It sounds a little human trafficking. And for legal reasons, this is purely speculation, but people really are speculating that the latter of those two may be why the show was canceled and stripped off air and why A&E has said nothing other than there was low ratings for the show, which is strange because normally when a show has low ratings, they still play out the rest of the episodes just, to put the content out there because it was already filmed. Or, you can still see the episodes online that were aired. But with this show, they literally ripped it off the entire internet and are trying to pretend like it never happened. And the question is why? Well, all this controversy seems to be sparked from one couple on the show named Danny and Christy. More specifically, Danny. So let's talk about this couple because there's a lot to talk about. So 59-year-old Danny Huff and his 49-year-old wife Christy live in Chillicothe, Ohio. The couple never had children, and Danny's initial reasoning for wanting to be on the show was because having no children, he had no one to leave his legacy to. So he says that he wants a daughter to inherit everything too. And my initial response to that is, Danny, what legacy? Now, I'm not trying to judge, but I kind of am, because as I watch the progression of the show, I see where they live, I see how they live. It doesn't seem like Danny and Christy have this massive wealth and inheritance to leave to someone, especially leave to someone that they're paying thousands and thousands of dollars of to move to a whole new country and support. It just kind of doesn't add up for me. If you had maybe mansions and millions of dollars that you had no one to inherit it to, maybe if you were a celebrity, but that doesn't seem to be Danny and Christy. And I'm not trying to say that in a bad way or to put them down or anything, because I ain't got shit to inherit to anyone yet either. But the way that Danny just says this, he wants this daughter to inherit his life too, it just kind of seems like a cop-out reason to me that he wants this girl to come there. But that's just my opinion. But that's not all of it. Things will get more disturbing and more complicated the farther into the 3 episodes that you get. There are clearly deep relationship problems between Danny and Christy. Christy's often seen crying on camera or looking very upset. She makes statements on camera saying that Danny always gets what he wants, and Danny backs the statement up by saying that he likes to be right all the time. And if Danny doesn't get what he wants, there seems to be hell to pay, which is a huge red flag. Christy also brings up on multiple occasions that Danny has cheated on her multiple times.
I was gone for a while. I left Danny. Danny has actually referred to himself as a chronic cheater. He's cheated on me multiple times.
I cheated on my wife with another woman. There's just no other plain way to say that.
Christy will also be caught saying that Danny downplays her concerns and brushes her off. So what I'm getting from that is Danny never takes his wife's feelings or her cares into consideration. It's all about Danny all the time. He does not give less of a fuck about his wife's feelings. So hearing all of that, right off the bat, this couple does not seem stable with just the 2 of them in it. Yet Danny wants to bring a pregnant 20-year-old woman into their home. But before we talk about Ileana, let's talk about the first girl he tried to bring into his home. And yes, I'm saying girl. According to Danny, this 18-year-old teenager, keep that in mind, an 18-year-old teenage girl with a 59-year-old man. And I get 18 is legal, but I don't think a 50-year-old man should have anything to do with an 18-year-old girl. But that's just my opinion. But according to Danny, this 18-year-old came to his property to buy a puppy, and somehow he figured out that this girl had lost her father a few years back, and Danny decided that he felt the need to help this 18-year-old girl and be a father figure in her life. Now, where do we see this situation happen quite often? prostitution, and human trafficking. An older man will prey on a girl with daddy issues, or he will find some kind of fault in her life and fill that position until she's comfortable enough to trust him, and then he will take advantage of her. And I'm not saying that's what Danny was doing here, but he's hitting all the goalposts for stuff like this. Because once they have this person under their thumb, secluded, they can do whatever they want with them. So Danny finds this girl that he wants to get close to, but things with this daddy-daughter dynamic did not last very long. And that is solely because Danny ends up admitting that he caught feelings for this girl that's supposed to be his daughter. He also went on to call her incredibly beautiful and so on. And are we surprised? It also is just a little creepy that Danny's looking for these girls to be his daughters, yet he falls in love with them. Did anyone else getting strange, weird vibes from that? You're not supposed to fall in love with your daughter like that. And on top of that, Danny admits this on national television in front of his wife, that he caught feelings for an 18-year-old girl. This poor woman, I don't know why Christy puts up with this man. Like, I can't even imagine what this poor woman has gone through before the cameras ever got there. Where her husband is saying in front of her that he fell in love with an 18-year-old girl, and she has pretty much no reaction. She just looks upset the entire time, and she's not shocked when he says that. Let me tell you, I'd have a few choice words for my husband if he said that to me. So hearing all that, it makes you wonder, what are Danny's true intentions then with adopting these girls? And yeah, I'm going to say girls because a lot of them are 20-year-olds and younger, because he's specifically looking for a girl. And it really makes me wonder if Danny and Christy never had children because there's something wrong with Danny and not in a medical way. You catch my drift. Well, after Christy went through all of that with the 18-year-old and Danny ends up finding a pregnant 20-year-old, and her name is Ileana. He finds her on a Facebook group for adults adopting adults and decides that he wants to adopt her now. And from what we know about Ileana, she was homeless in Austria. She says in her interview that she never met her own father because he died when she was young and that her relationship with her mother was bad. And that's why she ended up on the streets and in a homeless shelter. And living in homeless shelters and being on the streets and pregnant, she decided that she wanted to go online and find someone that could help her because she didn't want to give birth to a baby and bring this baby into the streets. So Ileana and Danny find each other on this Facebook group, and after 3 months of talking and Danny sending her money to support her, and Danny convinces her essentially to fly to the US to live with them. And honestly, it seems like Ileana has no other choice. It's either fly to the US and live with Danny or live on the streets and give birth to her child and live on the streets with a newborn baby. It doesn't really seem like a choice. So Ileana is now going to be flying to the US to live with weirdo Danny and his wife Christy, who doesn't even want to be part of the situation, it seems like. This doesn't sound like a great situation to be bringing a young mother into a home where this guy is the daddy of the situation, and there's a wife that doesn't want to be part of this. Like, it's a mess. And the kicker to all this is, before Ileana even arrives, Danny makes a joke in front of his wife that he wants Ileana to give him a blowjob. What? Yeah. I'm just going to show you the clip.
If it was my poster, I'd want it to say, "Welcome to Ohio, where's my blowy?" But you knew it. You knew what I was
Why you gotta be such
say.
a freak show? Why are you always
Where
such
are
a
the
freak show?
half-naked girls?
So it really sounds like Danny's looking for a daughter, right? You know, every father jokes about wanting their daughter to give them a blowy. And this, among many other reasons, were why people were concerned about Ileana's well-being while watching the show. This girl is coming homeless from a foreign country and trusting these people to keep her safe and take care of her and her child. And jokes are being made like this.
I was in a homeless shelter, and without the help from Danny and Christy, I would be again on the street and willing to do anything to stay here.
And it makes you wonder, if the cameras weren't around, what might have happened to Ileana, or what might happen to other girls around the world in this very same situation, because cameras aren't around to keep them safe. Has this happened to other girls where they fly from these foreign countries with no other real choice that they can find for themselves and end up in a secluded property somewhere where no one knows where they are, with people that are just not right in the head? And are these girls ever seen again? And you may think I'm jumping to conclusions and I'm being dramatic, but things do get even weirder once Ileana arrives. She notes in her interview that her and Danny, they talk about everything, they joke about everything, that, they have this decent relationship, but that her relationship with Christy just isn't going well. And that they don't really have a connection yet. And I really wonder if it has anything to do with the fact that Danny has cheated on his wife before, with other girls, that he fell in love with an 18-year-old that he was trying to originally adopt. And he is now telling his wife that he wants a blowy from her, from Ileana. That might just make Christy not in the best mood and, not really feel comfortable around this girl in her home that her husband has brought to be like a part of their family. And I know people bring thirds into their relationships. I know a couple people that are into that, actually. I am personally not. And you know what? If you're all consenting adults and you want to have, a third brought in to spice things up or whatever, that's all you. Do you? That's fine. But when you're tricking someone into becoming a third into your relationship and they're under the assumption that there is nothing sexual going to happen, there's a problem there. The dynamics seem to be a little thrown off. So I mentioned that Christy might not be that comfortable bringing, another woman into her home, considering her and her husband's broken marriage and, him cheating and wanting blowies from the said 20-year-old girl that's moving into their home. But it actually turns out that Ileana isn't living in their home. And that is because, again, we quickly find out that Christy is not comfortable and that Ileana is actually going to be living in a camper in the backyard because, Danny and Christy's relationship is just not strong enough to handle another woman living in the home, which I am not surprised about at all. But that means that this pregnant 20-year-old that is coming from a different country to live with you is now living in a camper. And this does not seem like a good situation. And when Ileana arrives and is told she's going to be living in a camper, she's a little shocked by that. Again, she is about to bring a baby into this world and you're telling her she has to live in a camper. And I am not 100% sure, but it makes me wonder, is there running water in this camper? Is there plumbing in this camper? Is there, air conditioning? I'm pretty sure there's no heating. We'll find out. So next I'm going to play for you a clip from the show where Danny and Christy are walking Ileana through their property in their backyard, and then we'll have a chat.
What is with that?
The trailer?
Yeah.
So back in the day, I had a survival business, and it held all the stuff for that. Now it just holds a bunch of stuff I need to get rid of.
So you don't want to end up in the trailer.
Yeah.
Not saying anything ever happens, but
Maybe not.
we don't want anybody to come
Yeah.
trespass and bug us and stuff. I have security cameras all over the place,
Ah.
so they're watching us right now.
But do you really?
Yes, we really do.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
There's all kinds of hidden cameras around.
So how safe do you feel?
Oh my God. I definitely feel nervous being here. I never expected that. I thought things would be very different, but unfortunately I can't change anything.
Did you catch that joke right there? There are shipping containers and trash throughout their backyard, as you can see in the clip. And when Ileana asks about the shipping container, Christy says, "You don't want to end up in the trailer." And then Ileana seems a little disturbed and shocked. After flying from a foreign country, not knowing anyone, is in like a secluded property that has shipping containers where, girls could be put inside and no one would be able to find them. Not really a joke to make. There's also a bunch of keep out signs across the property and hidden cameras on the property. Danny also makes a comment about not wanting people on his property. And the vibe I get from him when he says that makes me want to say, well, why don't you want people on your property? What are you trying to hide? Ileana is clearly weirded out by all of this, and she says that she's nervous during her interview, but that she can't do anything about it right now. This is exactly the situation that a young woman should not be in. She has no power in this situation. Danny has all the power. Now, another weird quote from Danny is his concerns about Ileana just using him for money. And he brings this up before she even arrives. But isn't that the point of this? You're adopting a homeless, pregnant woman who has no money. So of course you're going to have to provide her with money, shelter, food, the whole shebang. That seems like it's the entire point of this exchange. Her and her newborn baby are about to rely on him for everything, which honestly sounds, again, pretty dangerous, especially if he's bringing this up, acting like she's using him for money when that's like the whole dynamic. She needs the financial support or else she wouldn't be moving in with him. So that should not be a surprise. Yet, despite, again, all of this, Danny is still nervous that he might catch feelings for Ileana, which brings us full circle once again. So all of that ended up happening on air. A&E ended up pulling the 3 episodes that were aired, yet I did see that there were descriptions for episodes 4 and 5 still available. And episode 4 previews, Danny and Christy deal with a devastating revelation that jeopardizes Ileana's adoption journey. So I really wonder what that was. And then episode 5 says, Danny and Christy are blindsided by some big news from Ileana. And it really makes you wonder what we would have seen in the following episodes. But I guess we will never know unless they get leaked or if Ileana comes out and makes a statement herself. After all of that, people still were asking what happened to Ileana. Because the last you see from her, she's being introduced to this new home on this property. She's going to be put in a camper. People want to know, are her and her baby okay? Are they safe? Danny was actually quoted on the Daily Beast, and he commented on the show being pulled from air saying he insisted that the accusations regarding his behavior were not the reason the show seemed to be indefinitely canned. Danny was also quoted saying, I never had any inappropriate actions, words, comments, anything about her. Did you forget about the blowy comment, Danny? Because I didn't.
At the end of the day, Ileana, I want you to stay right here because I like hugging on you, and you're awful sweet.
Now, figuring out what happened to Ileana is a little bit complicated because no one's really put out statements besides like that one Danny made. But there are some alleged tweets from a woman who gave a creepy man a ride in her car. I don't know if she's an Uber driver or what she is, but she allegedly gave this man a ride, and this man is allegedly Danny. And she tweeted these far before the show even aired on TV. So it's kind of making people sway more towards that these tweets may be real, because she alleges that a man told her that he was trying to find a young woman to adopt as his daughter and his wife wasn't on board. The girl was 20 years old. She was from Greece, which as far as we know, Ileana is not from Greece, but this girl was also 6 months pregnant. So pretty close to Danny and Ileana's situation. It was just that country. But the girl that made these tweets came out after the show was aired saying that these tweets, in fact, were about Danny, that she recognized him, that it was him, and that Danny was the man that she was, in fact, talking about in these tweets that were, again, tweeted before the show even came out. Now, these tweets kept going regarding Ileana, saying that the young girl was living in a camper on the trucker's property, but they were saying that as fall turned to winter, the girl and her baby were cold, which makes sense again because Ileana and her baby were living in a camper. There was no heat in this camper. She was going to be cold. The tweets then go on to say a concerned cousin invited the girl, who is allegedly Ileana, to come live with them. And once Ileana was no longer reliant on Danny for food and shelter, she started to distance herself and pull away, which made Danny upset. Now, this is when Danny turned around and said that Ileana needed to reimburse him for all of her costs. So if all of this is true, which it seems like it could be, Ileana and her baby thankfully got out. And it honestly makes a lot of sense that Danny would be asking her for money back because he already had brought it up in the show before she even arrived that he was skeptical that she was using him for money, which again, that was the whole situation. So it's so frustrating to hear that. But again, we do have to remember that all of that is hearsay and it could all be false. I also wanted to just quickly bring this up because I seen someone else mention it and it got me really thinking. And it's the fact that these men are only ever looking to adopt young women and not young men to be their sons. They only want to adopt these young women to be their daughters. So it makes you wonder, like, if it really is for these innocent reasons, like wanting to give them your inheritance or whatnot. Why is it always young women? So hearing all of that, how do you guys feel about this? Does the situation weird you out at all too? Again, just for legal reasons, this is all alleged. This is just my opinion, this video. It could all be false. I could be fucking miles off of what's actually happening. But you could probably agree that the things that happen in these episodes were pretty weird. And I really wanted to bring this situation and this show to attention because I do feel like this situation happens every day out there in the world, but without cameras. And bad things do happen to these girls that are flying from foreign countries or even within their own country to just go live with someone older that they trust and they're just never heard from again. Let me know if you disagree with me and you just think that this is just a bunch of consenting adults living life together. Like, if this was a couple looking for a consenting third to join their family or their relationship, I wouldn't see an issue with it. But this is a husband that's looking for a daughter that he keeps falling in love with and making blowy comments about his daughter. So let's chat about this below. I hope you guys enjoyed this little less disturbing video. I'm gonna be right back on with the disturbing videos. I have a whole list written down of ones I wanna cover. If you enjoyed this video and you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It really does help me. The more support that I get from you guys, the more time I can spend making these videos and help spreading the word about missing people and their cases. So with that, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.